Happy Tuesday morning, everyone, and welcome back to the From the Press Box here on the Right Team podcast. To today's episode of our show, a little bit different start to the broadcast this morning. Matt's going to be a couple of minutes late. We're having to start our time here a little bit early due to converging schedules and things like that, but he will be joining us here momentarily and jumping on the podcast with us here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Of course, my name's David Weaver. Right? Speaking of Matt, man, you almost made it. About 30 seconds in.
Oh man!
Talk about great timing here. But yeah, we are getting going here on our show this morning, and a lot of stuff to talk about as we go into our Beast Texas segment of the show. First of all, this segment of the Right Team podcast is brought to you by Styles Electric. Based right here in East Texas with offices in Longview and Mount Pleasant, Styles Electric has been providing dependable professional electrical work for over a quarter century in East Texas and beyond. When experience matters, Styles Electric delivers service that speaks for itself. Okay, Matt, we did have some action last night in our ongoing area playoffs here for the UIL boys. Of course, the girls are on the downside of their playoff run here as they are playing state semifinals here at the first part of the week. These teams will advance, of course, to the state championship games in their respective brackets, which take place down in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. And so this long playoff run for these teams is coming to an end here. And for East Texas, we saw pretty much one of our teams go down last night that we've been following throughout this entire playoff run, and that is San Augustine. Ran into a buzzsaw against Mason last evening. I got doubled up 43-22. The Lady Wolves take loss in the state semifinals, so their season is done. A great run by them as well. And again, we've been tying them into, if you remember back in our bi-district round, those San Augustine faced Elysian Fields and knocked out the Lady Jackets in the first round. So
yeah,
congratulations to them on a really nice run here in the postseason.
Boy, anytime you end in a round that begins with the word state, it's nothing but a fantastic season. So congrats to them.
Or semi, right? Or final,
right,
actually. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, congratulations to them on a good run. The other kind of bracket now that we are in locally in 2A D2, Martins Mill versus Goldthwaite is going to take place this evening at China Spring High School. That game tips off at 6:30. Martins Mill, just kind of down the road from us here, about 45 minutes to an hour or so, maybe a little bit more than that, from where Matt and I are recording our podcast. So good luck to the Mill as they look to advance to the state championship. I did not know this until last week. They have now 6 straight regional championships for girls basketball there at Martins Mill. Kind of a well-kept secret here right in our back door. So that's the girls' side. On the boys' side, there was one game played last night. And, Matt, I was in the house last Friday night when Hawkins took down Elysian Fields. And I told you on the show yesterday, I was very impressed with just the way they play basketball, just a really sound team. They can shoot it. They can get to the basket. They can play really good defense. And they showed it last night with a 62-50 win over Cayuga in the regional semifinals, 2A D1. So Hawkins is moving on to the regional finals later this week.
Yeah, big time win and really big time game. Apparently, I saw a little bit of footage from that game. Apparently, that was a pretty incredible atmosphere.
It was, and it really was. I mean, they had their side the other night in Bobcat Coliseum here in Hallsville was completely full. And they were letting you know they were in the gym. I mean, a really good crowd, really supportive of the guys, and evidently they travel well.
Yeah.
But anyway, congratulations to them. They advance to the Region 3 finals there in 2A D1. Their opponent will be decided tonight as San Augustine. Speaking of San Augustine, now we're talking about the boys. They will be taking on Lovelady in the other semifinal in that region. That tips off tonight at 7 o'clock at Cushing High School. The only other game from our area that we've been following here was in 3A D2 Region 2. That was Paradise and Hooks. Paradise comes away with a 44-29 win over the Hornets in that one. So Hooks' season is done. Paradise, pretty good high school basketball program, is moving on into the regional final there.
Very good.
All the other action is under the lights tonight. So
yeah.
again, our full schedule for the boys and the girls is on our Right Team Podcast Facebook page. You can kind of catch up and see exactly where everyone's at. I'll be updating that tonight as I can find scores and as they come in. So, congratulations and good luck to all of those young men and women who are continuing to play their basketball season. Wanted to also here just kind of touch on, we started this last week in our Beast Texas segment, but we haven't really gone full bore yet into baseball and softball. No, district seasons are starting now, particularly this week, actually, in 10-5A around us locally. But we did unveil the top 25 rankings that's put out by Diamond Pro and Texas High School Baseball and Texas High School Softball last week, and just wanted to share the updates on that on today's show here. Before we dive too much into baseball seasons and softball seasons, Matt, I know you guys at KMHT, one end you were kind of sad to see your basketball teams finally all get knocked out, but now you're just diving right back into baseball and softball season, right?
I'm on the road to White House tonight with Brandon Smith to watch the district opener for the Mavericks and call that on KMHT so long as the wind allows. I tell you, every time we go to that White House, we're always outside set up, and you can hear more wind than you can hear our voices. And then I believe Emily Ellenberg and Tristan Lundy are heading down to Lufkin for Marshall softball, their second district game. The Mavs run rule Jacksonville in their first district game. Yeah, it's here and we're off and running.
The Diamond Pro THSBB Top 25 is put out yesterday on their website. We have none of our 6A teams or our 5A teams in the baseball poll. A little bit surprising to me, but we don't have anyone locally represented in the top 25 there. But you get down into the 4A ranks, and you do start to see some of our East Texas schools here, leading off in 4A with number 2 Pleasant Grove, the second-ranked team in the state. The Hawks come into that one at 9-2 on the season. Right behind them at number 5 is Spring Hill. They are 5-4-1 on the season. 4A, number 6, Lufkin Hudson. They are 9-1 on the year, and then also staying in 4A, number 13, Bullard at 6-3. So you got 4 of the top 13 teams in the rankings in 4A right here in East Texas. Go down a little bit further in the poll. They close it out with number 24 and 25. That would be Palestine and Lindale closing out the 4A ranks. So we have 6 teams, Matt, in our coverage area that you and I talk about right there in the top 25 in the 4A ranks. Yep. Moving on down to 3A, the number 3 team in the state is Liberty Ilo. The Leopard come in to this week at 9-2-1. At number 7 is Mount Pleasant Chapel Hill. They are 10-0 on the season. 3A, number 21 is Nacogdoches Central Heights at 7-1, and then Grand Saline comes out at number 24 at 6-3. And then moving on down into the 2A ranks, number 3 Shelbyville, and then number 20 Garrison, and number 24 Beckville. So 3 teams in our area in the 2A baseball rankings. Softball rankings on the other side of that. Again, Texas High School Baseball has had a website up for several years, and this year they have unveiled a Texas High School Softball website. So very similar to that. So very excited to see that as well as a source of information. Again, no one in 6A in our area is in the top 25, but in 5A, we do have number 8 Hallsville, which comes in to the rankings this week at 11-4-1. In 4A, several schools represented: number 6 Bullard, number 8 Sulphur Springs. Spring Hill comes in at number 10, Lindale at number 13, and then Carthage was right behind them at number 14. And then the 3A poll, which is the final poll, the last poll that they do in softball at this time, number 14 Hughes Springs, number 23 Mineola, and then you got number 24 DeKalb and number 25 Elkhart are all schools here that are within East Texas borders. So that's a rundown there of your baseball and softball rankings. Anything surprise you there, Matt, in any of those rankings right now? I know it's still relatively early, but I mean, we are first week of March. Maybe that's not relatively early.
I'm used to Lufkin being pretty solid in both of those, which they still may be. They're just not quite good enough to be in the top 25 of either one. So I'm used to seeing that. But you know, I think White House is another program. We just mentioned going to see them. That's another program in both baseball and softball it's usually pretty feisty. No surprise to see Hallsville softball there, especially after the year they had last year. But yeah, no major surprises, I would say.
Once again, I want to thank Styles Electric for sponsoring our daily Beast Texas segment here on the Right Team podcast. We're going to move on now to our on-campus segment. Kind of change the title of that, but just to kind of bring in some more sports again as we get these converging spring sports to go along with basketball. But this on-campus segment is brought to you by East Texas Baptist University, which combines strong academics with championship-level athletics and a Christ-centered mission that impacts every part of campus life. If you're looking for a university that values faith, competition, and community, ETBU is the place for you. Learn more about life on the Hill in Marshall, Texas at www.etbu.edu. Okay, speaking of ETBU, Matt, I kind of wanted to circle back to some weekend action that took place for ETBU teams that are kind of the headliners here for us as we get going into really the spring part of their season. The first thing at the top there, of course, softball remains undefeated. Of course, I do have I'm kind of broadcasting high above Taylor Field.
Yeah.
Here.
Are you on a drone or what's going on?
Well, it was the best picture I could find in a pinch, and but I did want to give a shout out to our Lady Tigers out there who went on their first road trip over the weekend and came away with a 4-0 sweep to remain 8-0 on the season. And I'm telling you, nobody does a rebuilding year quite like Coach Janae Shirley and her Tigers. I mean, they just kind of reload every year. And here they are at the start of the season, again, very early for them, and they're going to have a lot of tough games coming up here on the road in particular. But man, they're off to the perfect start that you always look for. So they're 8-0 on the season after a really, really good weekend down there in Georgetown. They played Willamette 2 games on Saturday and then defeated host Southwestern twice on Sunday. So
yeah,
big weekend there for the Tigers.
One of those games Sunday, I think they went into the 6th inning down 2-1 and rallied to win it. It's good to see that. I think you want to see a few games. They had one game that was pretty tight with Belhaven, but when you're about to head into what they're about to head into in Georgia, you'd love to have a few kind of competitive tight games under your belt, just to kind of be used to it a little bit. In fact, I wanted to bring up, I don't know if you've seen this. I'm looking at the teams that they're playing in Georgia, and usually their website has the rankings on there. I'm looking to see if they do. They may not, but I recognize some of these teams just because of having seen them in the World Series at ETBU. But
yeah, Emory's probably going to be ranked in that one, I would say.
Berry College is College is high level.
Trine for sure will be ranked.
So you're talking about they're going to be playing, weather permitting, at 10 in the morning and 12:30 in the afternoon Friday, 10 in the morning, 12:30 Saturday, 9 in the morning, 11 o'clock Sunday. It is going to be some elite level competition. And it's one of those things, you go 3-3 in that tournament, you don't feel bad at all.
Right.
Janae Shirley's not going to say she hopes they go 3-3. I promise you that. But you go 3-3, that's a really good showing. That's the kind of tournament this is.
Absolutely. And you can follow that action there either via video or live stat on the ETBU website. Looks like Adam will have a link up there for those things. So you can follow the Tigers there while they are in Columbus, Georgia this weekend. Moving on to the Tiger baseball. They went on the road to Montgomery, Alabama, and played in a little tournament over there this past weekend. And they came away with 2 wins out of 3 games, Matt. They scored 23 runs in those 3 games. And then ended up actually being outscored for the 3 games, 26-23 because of a 10-3 loss on Sunday to the 10th rank at Adrian College. But man, what a good weekend there, specifically in those first 2 games against Mount St. Joseph and Huntington, Alabama, as the Tigers combined in those 2 games to score 23 runs there.
Yeah, and Adrian, really, really good squad. So getting 2 out of 3 on that weekend, I want to text Coach Tanner Matthews. He and I talk from time to time, but I feel like you probably feel pretty good about that. They got a big weekend coming up, heading out to Oregon against a pretty good squad next weekend. So it was a good little bounce back after that tough weekend in Jackson, Mississippi against Belhaven to win 2 out of 3. Just a word about I wanted to jump back to softball real quick because we were talking about some of those teams that ETBU is playing. They've already played number 14 Bellhaven, and this poll was the first one that came out, so it's about a month old. They haven't renewed the poll yet, but the preseason number 1 was Trine. We're talking about Trine, so yeah, they're pretty good. Emory is number 15 in the country preseason, so they're going to be playing some squads for sure in that tournament. But just wanted to mention that they will be playing the preseason number 1 team in Georgia.
Yeah, and I had some shoddy math there. Actually, the baseball Tigers scored 26 and gave up 26 in the 3 runs. So even Steven there in far as run differential. Did want to mention too, of course, the basketball seasons for both the men and women did come to an end in the semifinal round of the American Southwest Conference tournament out in Abilene last Friday. The men lost to Mary Hardin Baylor, and the women lost to Howard Payne in the semifinals. Hope I got that right. Maybe I got that mixed up. But in any event, UMHB and Howard Payne played a hand in knocking out ETBU's basketball squad.
Yeah.
So, no, I had it right off the top.
Yeah,
of my
you
head.
got
really,
that
really
right.
dangerous this time of year for sure.
Yep.
So that is the end of the basketball seasons. Unfortunately for ETBU, their seasons do end in the conference tournament. And Matt, I also wanted to bring up here before we move on. You had mentioned last week about potentially being in attendance for the first home matches of ETBU beach volleyball. Were you able to make it out to campus for those last week?
I went out Friday and watched. So ETBU lost both their matches Friday, won both their matches Saturday. I was locked in. Now, it's funny. So they went 2-2. Well, the team of Emily Thomas and Caitlin Ellenberg, who is a Marshall grad, went 4-0. Folks, let me just tell you, beach volleyball is a scene, man. It is. Now, it helped that it was 80 degrees and sunny out there, in February. But man, so different. Like, I don't know what you know about this, but I love pickleball, and it's like tennis, but it's not. It's so much more about, if you're good, it's so much more about placement rather than power. That's kind of how I compare beach volleyball to indoor volleyball. Yeah, you have some moments of power, but it's really more about placement. And Ellenberg and Thomas going 4-0, I thought was really, really impressive. It was a good start. They have they're going, I believe, to Alabama for a match coming up. They've got another one somewhere in Texas, I think. And then at the end of March, they're hosting another one that last weekend of March. So I just really encourage folks, if you get a chance to go out and see it, it's a whole vibe out there, man. It's fun music, really high energy. It's kind of, how we talk about, and maybe not so much you because you're so entrenched with baseball, with having watched your son and all the rest. But I'm getting to a point now where unless I'm watching a team I'm heavily invested in, I'm like, I want to watch softball instead of baseball because it's so fast paced.
Right.
That's what beach volleyball is. It's a lot of fun. I encourage folks to get out there and watch it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned pickleball, and I have played some pickleball. And the very first time I did it and got done, of course, it's a little different if you've never done it. If you've played both tennis or really racquetball, and I've told people, I'm like, pickleball is like if tennis and racquetball got together and had a child, and it would be called pickleball. That's kind of what that is, and I love it. I'm with you on that. I do love it. So at some point, we will see college pickleball teams.
Oh yes,
I'm predicting that for sure. Okay, moving on here, staying locally. I do know we had talked a little bit about Wiley and their women's basketball team last week heading into their conference tournament. Do you have any updated news for us on that, Matt?
Yeah, got a big win in the quarterfinals, which meant, when you're in the semis, you get a win, you're going to the national tournament because the two teams in the championship advance. They had a 7-point lead over Talladega heading into the fourth quarter, and it just slipped away from them, a 53-51 loss. So the season ends there, but congrats to Coach Manley, a division championship on the west side of the conference, and a run to the semis of the conference tournament. So congrats to them on a great season, but unfortunately it did come to an end.
Staying here in men's college basketball, again, you're listening to the on-campus segment of From the Press Box on the Right Team podcast, brought to you by East Texas Baptist University. The men's top 25 last night, again, had a light night. Again, we are winding down the regular season. Everyone's kind of getting ready for their respective conference tournaments. The big thing last night, of course, the only two top 25 games in action last night were two of the probably number one, maybe number two seeds, probably two of the top three for sure. And they took care of business on their own there in their conference games. Duke goes on the road to North Carolina State, number one Duke, and they come away with an easy 93-64 victory. Then Arizona, which has kind of seemed to right the ship a little bit here after, they took those two losses back to back. And but now they've had a couple of really big wins. Well, they just took care of business at home against Iowa State, which is, got up there into that top four, and then they've kind of slipped a little bit once they got up there. But the Wildcats come away with a 73-57 win there. And in terms of bracketology, that's not going to move the needle at all, right? Those are just
no. I think Iowa
on the wall.
I think Iowa State's in danger of slipping off that 2 line. Not that that's a bad loss, but the committee's first projection came out, and Iowa State was the last number 1 seed. And since then, they've lost to BYU, Texas Tech, and Arizona. One of those was at home, 2 on the road. None of those are bad losses that you really worry about. But it doesn't really matter who you play. Losing 3 out of 4 is never good. So I think that interesting with NC State. Duke, that was a tough environment to go into. To go on the road after playing on a Saturday in a big matchup with Virginia, and just to handle with ease a decent North Carolina State team. North Carolina State's one I'm going to have to be watching on the bubble, not because they lost to Duke, but because they just lost to Notre Dame, who's not very good, and Duke on back-to-back nights. And now they've got this matchup coming up. I was actually looking at the matchups coming up a little later. On Saturday, they are going to play 11 and 18 Stanford at home. North Carolina State's probably fine if they win that one. If they lose that one at home to Stanford, now you're going into the conference tournament on 3-game losing streak and a little worried about, well, what happens if some of these bubbles burst or some unexpected teams win? Then you're playing that game. So that one was NC State's not bad that you lost to Duke. You didn't need to lose at home by 30, and you don't need to go into the tournament on a 3-game losing streak. So I'll be keeping an eye on them.
On the women's side, in their bracketology, which is found on ESPN's website, of course. Matt, you did mention this a little bit yesterday, so I don't spend a whole lot of time on it. But the big thing about on the women's side, you look at their bracket, and it hasn't changed in several weeks now in terms of their number ones. You still got UConn, UCLA, Texas, and South Carolina holding really, really steady there in terms of being top seeds. Very little movement in their bracketology this week. You don't see a whole lot of colors on this thing, and so pretty well has settled into that. Of course, interestingly enough, teams that are considered on the bubble, the last 4 byes right now are considered to be Iowa State, Virginia Tech, Virginia, and Clemson. A heavy ACC dose there in that 3 of their 4 teams. I think that could probably, determine exactly how the ACC does in terms of the bids they get. These last 4 byes can hold on. Last 4 in here would be Princeton, Nebraska, Colorado, and Mississippi State. First 4 out is Richmond, Utah, South Dakota State, and Stanford. And the next 4 out, which these teams are running out of time and don't have a whole lot of games left to try and bump themselves up. But you got Arizona State, Texas A&M, BYU, and Kansas. So that's the women's side of the bracket. Looking at their number of teams expected to get bids right now, the Big Ten is leading the way just ahead of the SEC, which you and I agree may be the most powerful conference just in terms of talent and dominance, but they are 1 team or 1 bid behind the Big Ten currently, according to Joe Lunardi's bracketology, or actually ESPN's bracketology here. Yeah,
it's just so much fun. Feels like things change every night. You just got to watch it.
Yeah, the women's bracketology is actually done by Charlie Cream. I did not know that. I'm just now looking at it. But we don't really – hey, on the men's side, we don't concern ourselves with anything but back row bracketology here on the Right Team Podcast, which, by the way, will be updated again on Thursday. And then, of course, the big news coming out again next week. Matt will reveal his first prediction on the NCAA bracket leading into Selection Sunday in a couple of weeks. So put that on your calendar for next Monday's show. Okay, let's move on here now to our segment, which we call the Back Page. This brought to you by Right Team Services. This portion of the show is sponsored by Right Team Services, which helps schools, small businesses, and nonprofits turn ideas into impact through effective writing, clear messaging, and meaningful connection across your websites and social media platforms. When you need results but don't quite have the words to say, let Right Team Services provide the voice that you need. Contact me today at 903-926-1766 or visit our website at www.rightteamservices.net to learn more about how we can help you tell your story. Matt, what you got on your back page for us here today, man? I had a lot that I had to cut out. So much going on in our sports world, but some interesting things I know that you've got for us as well.
Well, I'll keep it brief. One, I like to go NBA. I know I'm a homer, but the Celtics just kind of keep rolling. And last night, they go into Milwaukee. It's Giannis's first game back. Giannis has been injured, and he had a double-double. But the Celtics didn't even play Jaylen Brown, their best player, and won by 27. They have the fourth or fifth best record in the entire NBA. They're 2 games in the lead for the 2 seed. Look, I know that Detroit's coach, I think it's Bickerstaff. I don't want to misquote that, but he's probably the leader in the clubhouse for Coach of the Year. But the job Joe Mazzulla has done with no Jason Tatum all year and managing a roster that lost Al Horford and Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis and just some of the guys that you watch them out there and you're like, who is Hugo Gonzalez? Who are these people that are out here? They had a guy whose last name's Queta that you've probably never heard of that had 27 and 17 the other night against Philly. So I'm just impressed by the job that they're doing in what seems to be an undermanned team. But the main thing I really want to talk about, I don't know if you saw this, off season never really ends. ESPN released their boys high school basketball recruiting class rankings for 2026 yesterday. Duke's number 1. That probably doesn't shock a lot of people. They've got 3 of the top 23 players, including the number 3 overall player, power forward Cameron Williams. They also have a 4-star. Number 2 was Arkansas. The number 2 overall player. They've got the number 2, 12, and 22 overall players. Number 2 overall player is Jordan Smith. They beat out Duke for him. He's generally considered to be the best guard of the class. So there goes Coach Cal getting another guard. But what was really shocking to me in the top 10, Missouri was number 4. So that's kind of a little odd. You also have Michigan State, Kansas, no surprises there. Michigan, okay. North Carolina. These are all names we're used to. Purdue, number 8. But then you get into number 9, Maryland. One of whom is a 4-star out of Lufkin, Austin Brown. And then you get number 10, Wake Forest. So there's some unique teams in the top 10 right now that I think is really, really curious to see. One thing that is really of note, at least to me, is Purdue's got a 7-foot center named Sinan Huan. And my son sent me a tweet one day that I just cracked up at because somebody said, I think Purdue has one coach whose job is just to go in random villages all over the world because he heard tell of a giant. Because they just keep finding these 7-foot whatever guys. And, Zach Edey, who's playing in the pros, 7'4", of a different nationality, they just keep bringing them in. And it's working. I mean, they're a really good program. But anyway, I just thought it was cool to see that. Number 1, we had a Lufkin kid on that list on a team in the top 10. but also Missouri, Wake Forest, and Maryland. Those are not three programs right now that I consider top in the country, but they had top 10 recruiting classes as of right now heading into next year.
And you got to think NIL has something to do with that. Somebody's giving some money somewhere, right? For
sure.
those random teams to just pop up like that.
But that is so important to look at, I think, those rankings, because unlike college football and maybe even baseball, this year is showing us you get that one impact freshman, it might make all the difference in the world. We've seen it with so many teams, and so that's just curious to me. I was eating that up, reading it. Of course, Arkansas being number 2, that makes me happy. But yeah, that was what stood out to me.
Speaking of NIL and things that stand out to you, you probably saw this. This was a tweet that I pulled from CFB Kings yesterday. The state of Mississippi is working to make NIL money tax exempt to gain a recruiting advantage for their schools over other states. So state governments are now apparently getting involved in the NIL business. Basically, I'm assuming this year, either money that you make or money that you donate to an NIL collective will have no tax on it.
Yeah.
Although Mississippi does apparently have a state income tax, but this is going to be protected as of now. I mean, it's law. It passed in their house. So anyway, that's just another step in the process of what we're seeing with college football. Who knows where it ends?
Yeah.
Who knows where it ends? But you've got state government stepping in to try and make their state schools more competitive in the NIL era. That's where we are right now.
And it's crazy. I saw someone share that story and said, so teachers and emergency personnel have to pay taxes, but you throw a football good, so you're all clear.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yep.
And like I said, who knows where it goes from there? I do know. I don't know how they find time to do this, but apparently there's this big meeting scheduled in Washington. President Trump has called together this task force, so to speak, and going to talk about NIL and try to come out of, where there were some solutions, a lot going on. I would think that's, I don't know how long he's going to be able to be in that meeting, but anyway, probably not the best time to hold it, but
there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. For sure, movers and shakers in the NIL world in college football, along with everything else. Speaking of college football, here I did see this was put out by College Football Report yesterday, and I had a couple of questions on this. I wanted to run by you, get your thoughts.
Yeah,
I don't want to be too emotional about it, but this is a ranking of SEC head coaches going into next season. So they ranked them 1 through 16 here. Now I'm going to say most of this. I mean, once you get past the first 3 or 4, there's probably not a whole lot of debate. I mean, you're just listing names at that point. Of course, number 1 is Kirby Smart. I'm not the biggest Kirby Smart fan, but I would certainly put him as the number 1 head coach in the SEC, based on the fact that he wins the conference every year. But my big question comes at number 2. LSU's Lane Kiffin. They have listed as the number 2 coach in the SEC, followed by my guy at Texas, Steve Sarkisian, at number 3. Number 4 is Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. Number 5, Mike Elko. Okay, so of course I'm going to sit here and I'm going to try not to be emotional and sound like a homer on this when I do this. I'm going to lay this out as quickly as I can. I don't understand the allure of Lane Kiffin. We've got a guy here now who's ranked number 2, who's never played, who's never coached in a playoff game. Yeah, I mean, that's the fact. He's never coached in a playoff game, never sniffed a conference championship or even been to a conference championship game. Why is he ranked number 2 on this list, ahead of a coach who has been, prior to last year, been to 2 back-to-back state national semifinals?
Yeah, I think you're probably splitting hairs here. I think it's closer than you think between these two. I could go either way. Not really a huge Kiffin fan, but 4 straight 10-win seasons at Ole Miss. Look, Texas and Ole Miss historically, There is no comparison in football programs, like none. What one is in the conversation for top 5 or 10 greatest programs in the history of college football. One is, hey, we finally got rid of all our Confederate stuff. Like that's kind of where those two programs are. So to me, the fact that he had 4 straight 10-win seasons at a program like that, I would have him in the top 3 for sure. I would have this 3 as the top 3. I could see putting Sark ahead of him, but I don't really have a problem with it simply because, yeah, Sarkisian's had the better, the better success in postseason. I don't know what Kiffin would have done if he would have stayed around for the postseason, but to do it at Ole Miss is saying something, because this is a program that really doesn't have anything past the 1950s to hang its hat on.
A lot of it goes with the marriage that he's at LSU, which I could see somebody looking on this and voting like he's not going to be able to screw up LSU more than, he's going to improve LSU, which will make LSU another force again by just
right
making them LSU again. But he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. I don't know that I could, and I'm trying to, again, take off my fan hat, but I don't know that I could put him ahead of Sark right now, just based on the fact that he's a new coach at LSU, right? He's kind of unproven in that job. I don't know that I could put him at number 2 in the conference as coach. We'll see. We'll know pretty quick here in the first couple of years. They may be wanting to run him out of town after that. But I think he's going to do well there. I can't put him at number 2 right now.
Yeah.
And then the other question I had, and again, this is kind of splitting hairs here, but I can kind of see this. I mean, you and I, we talked about all last season about Elko and the Aggies, that line, right? They had no wins above the line. Everything was below the line. And then when they started playing above the line, what happened?
Yep.
And I think 5's too high for him right now.
Completely agree. And I'm going to tell you who I think is – there's a couple guys that are way too low on this list for me. And that's Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, because you want to talk about a program that's got nothing. And that dude is just out here pounding out 8, 9, 10-win seasons over and over and over again at a program that really has been a non-entity, non-factor in college football. And Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, I mean, like, going 10-2 and making a bowl game the year before. I think for me, the biggest, those two. And then I do not understand why almost every new coach hired in the SEC was put ahead of Shane Beamer. That
Jeff
almost
Levy.
felt personal to me. Yeah. I mean, Levy had a year at Mississippi State, but that almost felt personal to me. Like, I mean, Beamer, they had a rough year this year, but they were 9-4 the year before. They've had a couple other good years. Like, we're just going to automatically assume that the coach at Tulane or the coach at South Florida, or the coach at Memphis is just better than him, who's been in the SEC for years. That felt weird.
It doesn't appear that this poll, that they're using their methodology all the way throughout it. If you go by what apparently has gotten Lane Kiffin to the top, they're not following that with guys like Beamer. They're not following that with guys like Clark Lee and Eli Drinkwitz. I could make the argument that I would put Clark Lee 4th.
I could make that argument too.
I think Venables is too high. I might drop him a couple of spots. But the unknown guys, again, they're getting John Summerall at number 10.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's pretty high for someone who hasn't coached it down yet at the SEC level.
The only one of those new guys that I think's worthy, if you want to bump him up, is they've got him down at number 12. I mean, at least Pete Golding coached a couple playoff games and won.
Yeah.
He's
got 2 more wins than Lane Kiffin does in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, but Summerall, Golish being up there that high, I mean, what have they proven that Shane Beamer didn't in the SEC? So that was just kind of what stood out to me.
The last thing I have here on my back page, brought to you by Right Team Services, is the rotation has been released for pool play for the Team USA in the World Baseball Classic coming up here in the next week or so. But you have Logan Webb is scheduled to start the opener against Brazil. Logan Webb, of course, the ace of the San Francisco Giants, all-star starter or all-star last year for the National League. And then Tarek Skubal is the big name there. It's kind of interesting to me. They've got him starting against Great Britain. I think, look, he's already said, I'm going to give you 5 innings and I'm going back to spring training. So I don't know that I would waste those 5 innings on the British, who are not known traditionally for their baseball, right? I mean, of this group, I'm throwing that cat against Mexico.
They're throwing a pretty good one against Mexico.
But you've got Paul Skeens following him up against Mexico. So talk about splitting hairs. That's pretty much splitting hairs. Arguably the 2 best arms in both leagues you've got in your pool rotation. That's pretty deep pitching staff. And then Nolan McLean, who is actually was a rookie last year with the Mets, has only 5 or 6 starts under his belt, but he's going to get the start against Italy. So there is your 4-man rotation for pool play in the World Baseball Classic for the United States. Pretty good pitching staff there, I'd say.
Well, sure. No doubt about it.
And again, I just want to make this comment about the World Baseball Classic. Look, I love baseball. It's right up there with football for me. So I do love baseball. The World Baseball Classic is not ever a true indication of who has the best baseball. And the reason I'm saying that is because everyone's pitchers are limited.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And that's just a timing thing, right? It's happening right now in spring training. They have to have rules for these guys who are trying to build themselves up for the regular season. They're just not ready to go out there and take the mound for 7 or 8 innings. And so that has something to do with it. It's more like of course it is an exhibition, but it means something. It's an Olympic event pretty much now being played by itself. And so, I don't really know what I feel about it when it's just an extension of spring training for the pitching, at least. It can be exciting. Some of these countries really take it serious, man. But I don't ever want to, judge the USA's performance on this, particularly because our pitching's limited. In this event, and you got arguably your best guy, who's already said, "Hey, I'll come there and wave the flag for 5 innings, and then I'm going back to work." This is kind of how it goes. Okay, that ends the back page section of today's show. We're going to close out here as we always do with this date in sports history. And just by the way, a little plug here, we are looking for a sponsor for this particular segment. So if you might be interested in your business helping us out here on the show, we do have an opening here for this date in sports history, Matt. So it is, of course, March the 3rd of 2026. Did you know that on this date in 1920, the Montreal Canadiens scored an NHL single game record? Brace yourself for this. 16 goals in a hockey match.
Holy cow.
The Bulldogs. I wonder at what point do you pull your goalie?
Yeah.
Almost like, I'm thinking, I used to have this thing with a bad NFL defense. I heard a coach say this, and I've said it several times, used it, but that defense is so bad you could put out 11 blocking dummies and have a better shot, right? I kind of think you could pull your goalie and might have a better shot rather than giving up 16 goals in this one. Man, that was not much defense being played.
No.
And that was probably real ice back then, right? 1920. I mean, they're probably still doors on real ice, but also another funny thing that I saw that came across yesterday on this date in 1983, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw is admitted to the hospital for surgery to repair his throwing arm. He went in under an alias. The alias was Tom Brady.
That's so funny. I had no
idea. Never
knew that. I never knew.
I didn't know that either. But it's supposedly true on, again, March 3rd, 1983. I do remember Terry Bradshaw having arm troubles and having surgery. Very similar to Tommy John. Did not ever hear that he had gone under using an alias, Tom Brady. And then, of course, the rest speaks for itself. Birthdays on today, from born on this date in 1872. Do you remember Wee Willie Keeler?
Well, I remember hearing the name. Obviously, I don't remember him.
It's kind of cool, and we've mentioned this a couple of times. He was a Hall of Fame outfielder, of course, with the Orioles. But back in this era, man, they had some really cool nicknames, and they stuck for life.
Yeah.
Pesky and all that kind of stuff was not his real name, but it became his name. And you got Willie Keeler. I don't know a whole lot about him. I'm like you, I've heard the name a lot, and it's just cool that he had a name called Wee. 1962, a couple of birthdays on this date, turning 63 years old today. First of all, Herschel Walker. Of course, I believe everybody knows Herschel Walker, Hall of Fame running back with several clubs, most notably the Dallas Cowboys, and, of course, the subject of that infamous trade that really brought the Cowboys 3 Super Bowl titles there in the 90s.
Yeah.
He also won the Heisman Trophy at Georgia. Do you remember, though, his first professional job? A lot of folks may not remember this who weren't around.
He was in the USFL, wasn't
He
he?
was the very first draft pick in the USFL and played for Donald Trump's New Jersey Generals.
Ah, yes.
Owner Donald Trump. If you remember, Donald Trump tried for years to get into the NFL. My club, they wouldn't vote him in, and so he basically bought one of the teams in the USFL and then drafted and took Herschel Walker away from the NFL. Interesting story there. But also born on that exact same day and turning 63 years old today is Olympic gold medalist Jackie Joyner-Kersee.
Jackie Joyner-Kersee.
From the 80s and early 90s. And then you'll appreciate this one. You did mention him already earlier in the show, but Jason Tatum, Boston Celtics forward and 6-time All-Star, turns 28 today, which, that seems young to me. He seems like he should be much older, but he's only 28 years old. My gosh.
And that's pretty explainable because this is the crazy thing. When you've been not just in the league, but prominently, Boston has been in the conference finals or finals like 7 of the 9 years he's been in the league. It feels like you've been in the league forever. That kid as a rookie was walking into the conference finals, and we were watching him take on LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Right.
And so, when someone does that time after time after time, and you're watching them all the way deep into the postseason, you start thinking, man, they've been around forever. And he's only 28.
Yeah, and he is, based on something I read just a couple of days ago, he's coming back this week, right? And he's scheduled to come back.
I don't know for sure. He's kind of tracking a little bit, but
I think they're scheduled to play Dallas, I believe. And the word is that he's expected to take the court when they play the Mavs, of course.
We will see. It's one of those deals where it's like, if you're ready, you're ready. Here's the thing. You're at a point in the NBA season right now where there's about 20 games left in the regular season. And for a guy like him, and you got another one at Indiana, Tyrese Halliburton, of course, Indiana's out of the picture. They're purely a lottery team right now. But you either got to bring him back now so that he can get his legs under him before the playoffs, or you got to say, you know what, we're just going to wait. Because trying to bring him in right as the playoffs starting could be a recipe for disaster, especially for a team, as we just mentioned, who seems to be really clicking right now.
But man, just think of adding him, and if he's right and can play and help, that instantly makes the Celtics a contender again. In a season
they're
which
a
no one
contender without him, so yeah.
Right, but in a season where it was widely expected they were just writing this season off, and for them to be in this position now and then adding him back, you got to say nobody wants to play him in the playoffs for sure. Yeah. But anyway, today is his birthday. He turns 28, so happy birthday to Jason Tatum. Notable deaths on this date in the sports world. In 2018, Roger Bannister, who was an Englishman who was, of course, the first runner who posted the first sub 4-minute mile. I've never done that, Matt. I'm just going to tell you that.
Neither have I.
Never got close to the 4-minute mile. But he passed away on this date at the age of 88 in 2018 of Parkinson's disease. And then just a couple of years ago, to close it out here, Chris Mortensen, ESPN NFL analyst. You talk about, of course, Chris Berman was, my childhood connection to ESPN, but then it was probably Chris Morton, Peter Gammons, those guys. So when Mortensen died here a couple years ago, that kind of, again, takes away part of your childhood, man. He was the best at what he did, and probably the last of a, no pun intended here or any disrespect, last of a dying breed, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just the trusted journalist who everyone liked, the folks he covered, the fans, everything really believed Chris Mortensen, and he was a fixture on our TV screens for years. But he passed away on March the 3rd of 2024 of throat cancer. He was 72 years old. So
his son played a little bit at Arkansas. He's coaching now, but we kind of, our campus, our university had a connection to Chris as well, and he loved Arkansas, and we loved him. How would you not like Chris Mortensen if you're an NFL fan? But yeah, that was a tough one for sure.
The Mort Report, especially this time of year with free agency actually less than a week away. The Mort Report and Mortensen was always on that stuff, and he worked up until the day he died, man. And it was so sad those last few weeks when you saw him on TV, you could tell things weren't right at all. And cancer is just terrible in all forms. And anyway, it got Chris a couple years ago. So again, remembrances of him on this date as well. Our final word of the day comes from Proverbs 18:10. It says, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are protected." Today, when anxiety rises and circumstances shake you, don't panic. Just run to the Lord. He is our eternal safety, our strength, and our refuge. Good words to hear in the world we're living in today. Well, he's Matt. I'm David, and we thank all of you for listening out there in East Texas and beyond. Have a terrific Tuesday, everybody, and we'll be back tomorrow for another edition of From the Press Box here on the Right Team Podcast. And until then, as always, keep writing your story.